The year was 1996 when Britain made a massive shift in how its public transport operated. The privatization of British Rail split an entire national network into distinct commercial franchises. Out of this historic restructuring, South West Trains emerged under the management of Stagecoach Group. It took command of the vital suburban and long-distance routes radiating directly out of London Waterloo Station. London Waterloo was already one of the busiest railway hubs in Europe, handling hundreds of thousands of commuters every morning. Taking responsibility for this massive network was an enormous operational challenge. South West Trains inherited an aging fleet of electric multiple units, outdated track infrastructure, and a public that was deeply skeptical about private companies running essential public transport services across the country. Stagecoach moved quickly to establish a strong brand identity across southern England. They introduced a bright and recognizable livery featuring blue, red, and yellow stripes on their trains. This distinct visual style signaled the start of a completely new era for passengers traveling through Surrey, Hampshire, Dorset, and Berkshire. The company promised improved efficiency and better customer service than British Rail. During the late 1990s, South West Trains worked tirelessly to rebuild passenger confidence. The network spanned crucial commuting corridors linking major cities like Portsmouth, Southampton, Bournemouth, and Exeter back to central London. The pressure to deliver punctual services on heavily congested tracks was immense, making every day an intense operational test for drivers and dispatchers alike. As the new century approached, the franchise recognized that its legacy rolling stock needed urgent replacement. The iconic slam-door trains, which had served the region faithfully for decades, were becoming outdated and increasingly difficult to maintain. Passenger expectations were rising rapidly, demanding higher levels of comfort, air conditioning, modern safety systems, and better accessibility overall. To revolutionize passenger journeys, South West Trains invested heavily in a brand-new fleet of modern trains. They placed massive orders with Siemens to construct the Desiro family of trains, known as the Class 444 and Class 450 units. These sleek white and blue trains featured smooth acceleration, state-of-the-art safety mechanisms, modern passenger information screens, and vastly improved onboard amenities. The introduction of the Siemens Desiro fleet transformed daily travel across the entire south of England. Commuters enjoyed quieter rides, reliable heating and cooling, and modern seating layouts. The company also introduced the Class 458 Juniper trains for suburban routes. This multi-million-pound fleet renewal showcased Stagecoach's commitment to running a modern and efficient railway system. By the mid-2000s, South West Trains had secured a reputation as one of the premier passenger franchises in the United Kingdom. Station facilities were steadily upgraded, ticketing systems were modernized, and passenger numbers soared to record heights. Waterloo Station operated like a finely tuned machine, dispatching trains every few seconds during the peak morning and evening commute hours. Despite visible successes, operating a massive commuter network presented relentless challenges that began taking a toll. Track infrastructure was owned and maintained separately by Network Rail, creating a divided system where train operators often faced delays beyond their direct control. Old power supply equipment, signaling failures, and track defects frequently caused cascading delays across the system. The sheer volume of passengers traveling every day pushed the network to its absolute physical limits. Key junction points like Clapham Junction, one of the busiest railway interchanges in the world, suffered severe congestion bottlenecks. Even a minor delay of 2 minutes to a single morning train could ripple across dozens of subsequent services, leaving thousands of commuters stranded on cold platforms. Public dissatisfaction began to surface as ticket prices rose annually, while overcrowding on peak time services worsened. Commuters squeezed tightly into train carriages during hot summer afternoons began voicing their frustration publicly. Media outlets regularly criticized the franchise system, highlighting instances where passengers paid high fares only to experience delayed, canceled, or shortened trains. Industrial relations also came under strain as staff unions clashed with management over working conditions, staffing levels, and wages. Threat of strike action occasionally loomed over the franchise, creating anxiety for commuters who relied entirely on trains to reach their jobs in central London. Maintaining smooth operations required constant negotiation and careful workforce management strategies. To address extreme congestion and allow longer trains to operate, an ambitious engineering project was planned for London Waterloo. The famous international platforms, previously used by Eurostar trains before they relocated to St. Pancras, needed complete reconstruction to accommodate domestic commuter services. Extending platforms required extensive track remodeling and signaling upgrades right outside the station. August 2017 was designated for the massive Waterloo closure project. Half of the station platforms were taken out of service simultaneously, forcing South West trains to run a drastically reduced timetable for nearly a month. Passengers were strongly advised to travel outside peak hours, work remotely from home, or seek alternative transport routes into the capital city entirely. The major engineering works represented a critical juncture for the franchise. Rail engineers worked around the clock under intense pressure to reconfigure complex track layouts and extend platform structures. While the long-term goal was to increase capacity by 20%, the immediate disruption tested the patience of passengers and highlighted the vulnerability of the entire transport hub. While the physical works were completed successfully, the disruption added to a growing sentiment that the existing franchise framework was struggling to cope with modern demands. The sheer scale of passenger growth required deeper structural changes than a private operator could deliver alone. The stage was quietly being set for a major administrative shift behind closed doors. As the 10-year franchise agreement neared its conclusion in 2017, the Department for Transport announced a competitive bidding process for the Southwestern franchise. Stagecoach Group was eager to retain its flagship rail operations, having successfully managed the network for over 20 years and established an undeniable presence across southern England rail transport. However, formidable competitors entered the race with ambitious plans to reshape the railway. First Group teamed up with MTR Corporation, a renowned public transport operator based in Hong Kong known worldwide for its exceptional operational efficiency and modern metro systems. This joint venture presented a compelling proposal promising massive fleet investments and superior customer service standards. The competitive bids were evaluated on financial returns to the government, service quality commitments, infrastructure investment plans, and passenger satisfaction targets. First Group and MTR promised an aggressive modernization strategy, including an entirely new fleet of suburban trains, renovated station facilities, faster journey times, and significantly improved passenger compensation schemes. Industry analysts were divided over whether Stagecoach would maintain its grip on the franchise. Having operated the routes since privatization, Stagecoach possessed unmatched operational experience. However, government transport officials were keen to show that franchise competitions were truly fair and that new operators could bring fresh ideas and capital to aging public transportation networks. In March 2017, the Department for Transport delivered a bombshell announcement that sent shockwaves through the rail industry. Stagecoach had lost the franchise bid. First Group and MTR were officially awarded the contract to take over the Southwestern Rail Network, ending Southwest Trains' impressive 21-year run as the region's primary passenger operator. The loss of the franchise marked the end of an era for British transport history. Stagecoach expressed deep disappointment with the decision, having considered Southwest Trains the crown jewel of its rail portfolio. Stock prices reacted sharply as investors digested the financial implications of losing one of the largest and most lucrative passenger rail contracts in the entire United Kingdom. A formal transition period began immediately to hand over operations smoothly without disrupting daily commuter journeys. Staff members, maintenance depots, stations, and rolling stock had to be transferred to the new corporate entity. Behind the scenes, managers worked frantically to ensure safety protocols, ticketing systems, and operational rosters were seamlessly transferred by the deadly. On the night of August 19, 2017, Southwest Trains operated its final passenger services. Station displays, digital channels, and train side panels prepared for a complete rebranding overnight. For thousands of railway employees and millions of regular passengers, it was an emotional moment watching a familiar transportation brand disappear into history books. On August 20, 2017, Southwestern Railway officially took over operations across the network. The iconic blue, red, and yellow livery was rapidly phased out, replaced by a neutral gray and white branding. While the management structure had changed overnight, the underlying challenges of operating an overcrowded, high-density railway network remained exactly the same. In the years following the transition, Southwestern Railway faced its own massive hurdles, including prolonged industrial action, delays in introducing new train fleets, and the unprecedented collapse of passenger numbers during global events. Many commuters looked back on the Southwest Trains era with a sense of nostalgia, remembering it as a time of relative operational stability. The rise and fall of Southwest Trains serves as a fascinating case study in the history of British rail privatization. It demonstrated how a private company could successfully modernize an old network, introduce high-quality rolling stock, and grow passenger demand dramatically over 2 decades of continuous commercial operation under a single brand identity. Yet, its ultimate downfall illustrated the fragility of the franchise model itself. High premium payments demanded by government contracts, shifting political priorities, and intense competition meant that even an experienced operator could lose everything in a single bidding round. The fall of Southwest Trains signaled the beginning of wider reforms in British railway management. Today, the physical legacy of Southwest Trains is still visible along the tracks. The Siemens Desiro trains that Stagecoach introduced continue to form the backbone of express services out of London Waterloo. Millions of passengers still travel daily along the very same corridors that Southwest Trains helped build into one of Europe's busiest commuter arterial networks. Southwest Trains will be remembered as a pioneer of privatized British rail transport. From its ambitious beginnings in 1996 to its dramatic exit in 2017, the franchise redefined passenger expectations and played a crucial role in shaping modern commuter travel across the vibrant region of southwest England for over 20 years. On August 20, 2017, Southwestern Railway officially took control of the franchise. The consortium formed by First Group and MTR Corporation stepped into the spotlight with promises of sweeping transformation. They pledged over £800 million in direct private investment to modernize infrastructure, overhaul customer service standards, and introduce a vast fleet of state-of-the-art commuter trains. The fresh branding brought a sleek neutral color palette to replace the bright Stagecoach colors that had dominated platforms for 2 decades. However, behind the crisp new uniforms and rebranded station signs, the underlying operational pressures remained unchanged. London Waterloo was still operating at maximum physical capacity, and managing thousands of daily train movements required flawless execution across every tier of the business. First Group and MTR outlined an ambitious operational roadmap designed to increase total seating capacity during peak travel hours. The cornerstone of this strategy was the procurement of a brand new fleet of suburban trains specifically designed for high-density suburban corridors. This massive fleet order from manufacturer Bombardier was designated as the Class 701 Arterio family, intended to replace decades-old rolling stock. Despite the optimistic announcements, early months under Southwestern Railway were marred by significant operational friction. The complex network inherited from Southwest Trains proved difficult to stabilize amidst ongoing infrastructure defects managed by Network Rail. Signals failed frequently, track maintenance overran on weekends, and commuters quickly grew impatient as delays continued to disrupt their daily travel plans. The new management team soon found itself locked in a bitter, prolonged dispute with the Rail, Maritime, and Transport Union. The core issue centered on train operational safety and the proposed operational role of train guards on the upcoming Class 701 fleet. The union argued fiercely that retaining a guaranteed second member of safety train staff on board was essential for passenger safety and accessibility. As negotiations repeatedly stalled throughout 2018 and 19, a series of damaging strikes was announced. Passengers faced regular weekend disruptions and reduced weekday timetables as union members walked off the job. The industrial action severely dented public confidence in the newly established operator and placed enormous strain on local businesses reliant on commuter traffic into London. The conflict reached a dramatic peak during December 2019, when union members staged 27 consecutive days of strike action over the festive season. The prolonged walkout crippled suburban services, forced cancellation of hundreds of holiday trains, and caused tens of millions of pounds in economic damage. Passengers expressed deep frustration at being caught in the middle of an unyielding stalemate. The operational chaos was exacerbated by recurring infrastructure failures outside Waterloo Station. Major track circuits and point systems experienced repeated electrical faults during peak morning hours. Even though many disruptions originated from network rail infrastructure rather than train operations, South Western Railway bore the brunt of intense public outrage and political criticism during this turbulent period. Just as the operator attempted to resolve labor disputes and stabilize day-to-day operations, an unprecedented global crisis struck in early 2020. The rapid spread of COVID-19 brought normal public life to a dramatic halt across the United Kingdom. Emergency public health mandates forced millions of commuters to stay home, empty office towers, and rely entirely on remote working technology. Passenger numbers on the South Western Railway network collapsed overnight by more than 90%. Trains that had once been packed to absolute capacity ran virtually empty through suburban stations into central London. The traditional commercial revenue model supporting passenger rail franchises vanished almost overnight, forcing the central government to step in with emergency financial intervention measures. To prevent the immediate bankruptcy of passenger train operating companies nationwide, the Department for Transport suspended standard franchise agreements. Emergency recovery measures agreements were implemented, transferring revenue risk directly to the government. South Western Railway was paid a fixed management fee to keep essential services running for key healthcare personnel and critical frontline workers. The pandemic fundamentally altered commuting patterns across southern England. The traditional 5-day office work week gave way to widespread hybrid working arrangements, with many professionals commuting only 2 or 3 days a week. Peak morning travel surges flattened significantly, leaving rail operators facing long-term structural revenue deficits that required a complete rethink of service delivery. Central to South Western Railway's original franchise bid was the introduction of 95 Class 701 Arterio electric multiple units. These modern suburban trains were built to feature walk-through carriages, air conditioning, modern Wi-Fi, and regenerative braking. They were designed to replace aging Class 455 and Class 458 fleets that had been working hard since the 90s. However, the delivery and entry into service of the Class 701 fleet suffered years of agonizing software glitches, manufacturing delays, and operational setbacks. Technical faults within the train control software, coupled with dispute negotiations over driver training and cab design, kept the multi-million-pound fleet parked in sidings for years while older, less efficient trains continued serving key route. The prolonged delay of the Arterio fleet became a prominent symbol of the broader difficulties facing private rail management. Public criticism grew louder as passengers continued traveling on aging rolling stock, while modern trains sat unused in depots. The situation damaged the reputation of the joint venture and highlighted the immense friction involved in rolling out new technology. It was not until early 2024 that the first Class 701 trains finally carried paying passengers on limited suburban services. The extremely delayed rollout brought much-needed comfort improvements, but the years of frustration had already cemented a widespread political consensus that the privatized franchise structure required fundamental national reform. While suburban routes faced major delays, a unique success story unfolded on the Isle of Wight. The isolated island line, operated as a distinct subsidiary by South Western Railway, relied for decades on ancient, ex-London Underground tube trains dating all the way back to 1938. These historic trains were becoming nearly impossible to maintain due to scarce spare parts. Comprehensive investment plan was approved to overhaul the island line infrastructure completely. The project included raising platform heights, strengthening track beds, and installing modern signaling across the island network. The highlight was purchasing a custom fleet of Class 484 trains, which were upcycled former District Line underground carriages. Despite delays caused by track flooded during severe winter storms, the upgraded Island Line officially reopened to passengers in late 2021. The newly restored Class 484 trains provided level boarding, modern seating, and vastly improved reliability for residents and tourists traveling between Ryde Pier Head and Shanklin, preserving a vital community link. The successful modernization of the Island Line demonstrated that targeted capital investment could yield immediate positive outcomes for local communities. It stood out as a proud achievement during a challenging decade for the wider franchise, proving that heritage transit lines could be successfully adapted to meet contemporary passenger expectations without losing their charm. By 2023, the broader landscape of British passenger rail policy was undergoing a profound structural shift. The Department for Transport replaced emergency pandemic contracts with national rail contracts, imposing tighter performance metrics and reduced profit margins on private train operating companies. South Western Railway operated under one of these strict temporary agreements. Political consensus across the United Kingdom increasingly favored moving away from fragmented private operating franchises. Decades of rising ticket prices, frequent delays, coordination breakdowns between track and train, and prolonged labor disputes had eroded public support for private railway operators. Calls grew louder for a unified, state-backed authority to manage track and train together. The concept of Great British Railways gained significant political momentum as a solution to decades of structural fragmentation. The proposed public body was designed to serve as a single directing mind for the nation's railways, integrating track infrastructure management with passenger service planning under one unified, recognizable national brand identity. In mid-2024, a newly elected national government passed landmark legislation titled the Passenger Railway Services Public Ownership Act. This historic piece of legislation mandated that as private passenger rail contracts expired across England, operations would automatically transfer into direct public ownership rather than being re-tendered to commercial company. December 2024 brought the definitive official announcement regarding the future of the South Western network. Government officials confirmed that the national rail contract held by First Group and MTR Corporation would not be extended or renewed upon its scheduled expiry date in May 2025. South Western Railway was designated as the very first operator to return. December 2024 brought the definitive official announcement regarding the future of the South Western network. Government officials confirmed that the national rail contract held by First Group and MTR Corporation would not be extended or renewed upon its scheduled expiry date in May 2025. South Western Railway was designated as the very first operator to return. The decision marked a monumental watershed moment in contemporary British transport history. Nearly 30 years after Stagecoach first launched South West trains under private privatization legislation in 1996, the crucial commuter routes out of London Waterloo were officially scheduled to lead the national transition back into public hands under state ownership. On Sunday, May 25, 2025, the private franchise officially reached its end. Operation of all South Western Railway services transferred smoothly to a public sector management company operating under DfT Operator Limited. Digital screens across London Waterloo displayed new transitional branding, signaling the historic official return to state control. The public sector takeover was executed without immediate disruption to daily train passenger journeys. Passenger tickets, travel rail cards, and scheduled timetables remained fully valid, while thousands of frontline rail staff were transferred seamlessly to the new public sector employer. The transition represented the first major practical step toward full integration into Great British Railway. Under public management, South Western Railway became a key testing ground for the operational principles of Great British Railways. With track management and train operations brought under aligned public direction, decision-making during severe service disruptions became far more streamlined, eliminating long-standing commercial disputes between Network Rail and private operator. The new public operator prioritized resolving the remaining Class 701 Arterio introduction issues, accelerating driver training programs, and delivering reliable timetables tailored to post-pandemic travel habits. Fares were simplified, digital ticketing options were expanded across suburban stations, and customer service resources were refocused on direct platform support for commuters. By late 2025, passenger satisfaction metrics across the Southwestern network began showing measurable recovery. The removal of private shareholder dividend requirements allowed operational savings to be reinvested directly into maintenance, station cleanliness, and staff training, helping restore public confidence in the reliability of key commuter routes. The successful public takeover of Southwestern Railway paved the way for subsequent rail franchises across England to be brought back into state ownership throughout 2025 and 26. The smooth transition demonstrated that public management could maintain high operational standards while laying the groundwork for a fully unified national rail system. Looking toward the late 2020s, the Southwestern Rail Corridor stands on the threshold of an exciting technological evolution. Infrastructure plans include deploying advanced digital signaling systems along the main line out of London Waterloo. This digital traffic management technology allows trains to safely run closer together, significantly increasing capacity without costly track expansion. Green energy initiatives are also transforming operations across the regional network. Diesel trains operating on non-electrified routes through Hampshire, Dorset, and Devon are being systematically evaluated for replacement by battery electric hybrid trains, dramatically cutting carbon emissions and reducing local noise pollution near urban railway corridors. London Waterloo Station continues to evolve as a vibrant, multimodal transportation hub for the 21st century. Renovated retail spaces, improved passenger concourses, and seamless integration with London Underground lines ensure that the historic station remains fully equipped to handle millions of travelers for generations to come. The long-distance routes to Portsmouth, Southampton, Bournemouth, and Exeter are enjoying renewed popularity as sustainable leisure travel continues to grow rapidly. Modern trains featuring spacious seating, power sockets, and high-speed Wi-Fi allow passengers to work productively or relax while traveling through scenic southern English countryside. The 30-year arc spanning Southwest Trains, Southwestern Railway, and the modern public transition provides profound lessons for transportation policy worldwide. It illustrates how private competition can initially drive rapid modernization and fleet renewal, while also exposing how complex franchise structures can struggle under severe long-term stress. The era highlighted the absolute necessity of aligning infrastructure ownership with train operation. Dividing control between track owners and train operators created unnecessary friction during disruptions. The return to unified public oversight under Great British Railways addresses this fundamental design flaw, putting passenger needs back at the center of operations. Frontline railway workers remain the true backbone of the Southwestern network. Through decades of organizational restructuring, global health crises, fleet transitions, and political shifts, train drivers, station dispatchers, maintenance engineers, and onboard guards have worked tirelessly to keep millions of passengers moving safely every day. As the railway looks toward the future, the lessons learned from both the private franchise era and the public transition serve as a guiding foundation. A commitment to reliable performance, modern technology, transparent management, and passenger comfort ensures that the Southwestern network will remain a vital engine of economic mobility. By the year 2030, the Southwestern network is projected to be fully integrated into a seamlessly connected Great British Railway system. Unified digital ticketing across all transport modes will allow passengers to travel effortlessly using a single tap-in payment method across buses, suburban trains, and metro networks throughout southern England. Advanced artificial intelligence system models will optimize train scheduling and predictive maintenance routines across all maintenance depots. Sensors embedded along tracks and beneath carriage undercarriages will detect component where days before failures occur, virtually eliminating unexpected mechanical breakdowns during busy morning commute hours. Station environments along the line are transforming into community-focused hubs powered by renewable energy. Solar arrays installed on platform canopy roofs generate clean electricity, while station concourses offer bicycle storage facilities, electric vehicle charging bays, and modern remote co-working spaces for local residents. Long-term regional planning aims to restore closed branch lines and expand track capacity along key growth corridors in Hampshire and Surrey. These strategic infrastructure investments will better connect expanding rural communities to major employment centers without adding congestion to already overburdened regional motorways. The rolling stock fleet of the future will represent the absolute peak of energy efficiency and passenger accessibility. High-capacity trains featuring automated passenger counting, dynamic climate control, and dedicated spaces for wheelchairs, bicycles, and luggage will make rail travel more inclusive and comfortable for passengers of all ages and abilities. The legacy Class 444 and Class 450 Desiro trains, originally introduced by Southwest Trains in the early 2000s, are undergoing comprehensive life extension retrofits. Equipped with modern traction packages and completely redesigned interiors, these reliable workhorses will continue serving long-distance express routes well into the 2030s. Meanwhile, the fully integrated Class 701 Arterio fleet now forms the undeniable spine of suburban commuter operations out of Waterloo. With initial software problems long resolved, these sleek 10-carriage trains handle thousands of daily commuters with high operational reliability and smooth acceleration across inner South London. Research into zero-emission hydrogen fuel cell trains is also paving the way for clean regional travel on non-electrified routes in Dorset and Devon. Replacing aging diesel Sprinter trains with clean hydrogen technology will eliminate diesel exhaust emissions entirely from regional stations, supporting ambitious national net zero environmental targets. The daily experience of the London commuter has undergone a quiet revolution compared to the turbulent decades of the early 2020s. Real-time crowding information displayed on smartphone apps allows travelers to choose less busy carriages before the train even arrives at the platform, making peak-hour travel significantly less stressful. Delayed travel compensation is now processed completely automatically through smart ticketing platforms. If a train is delayed by more than 15 minutes, affected passengers receive instant account credits without needing to fill out complicated online claim forms or submit physical paper tickets for manual verification by customer service staff. Station safety and security have also seen major enhancements through the deployment of modern lighting, clear CCTV coverage, and well-staffed customer help points. Stations along the Southwestern network are designed to feel welcoming, safe, and easily accessible at all hours of the day and night for every traveler. Freight transport along the Southwestern Main Line is experiencing a major resurgence as well. Dedicated nocturnal freight paths allow heavy cargo trains to move goods cleanly from major southern container ports directly into central distribution hubs, taking thousands of heavy goods lorries off congested regional motorways every year. Reflecting on the long historical journey from British rail privatization in 1996 to full public reintegration under Great British Railways, the Southwestern Network stands as a powerful testament to the indispensable role of passenger rail in modern British society and regional economic life. The transition from Southwest Trains to Southwestern Railway, and ultimately to public ownership, reflects the broader evolution of public expectations. Passengers today demand not just basic transport, but a reliable, affordable, accessible, and environmentally sustainable public service that puts customer needs ahead of commercial profits. As trains glide smoothly out of London Waterloo today, heading toward the coast, the countryside, and suburban communities across the Southwest, they carry forward decades of rich railway history. The story of this network is defined by continuous adaptation, resilience in the face of crisis, and an enduring commitment to progress. The iconic arterial routes serving Surrey, Hampshire, Berkshire, Dorset, and Devon will continue to adapt to changing societal needs. Supported by stable public governance, cutting-edge technology, and dedicated railway staff, the future of rail travel across southwest England remains brighter and more secure than ever before. In the coming decades, automated track inspection technology will further revolutionize railway safety. Specially equipped maintenance trains fitted with laser scanners and thermal imaging cameras will patrol the Southwestern Main Line nightly, identifying micro defects in steel rails before they can ever cause unexpected service delays. Passengers will also benefit from next-generation passenger information systems. High-definition display screens onboard trains and across platform concourses will provide dynamic travel updates, connection guidance, microweather reports, and accessibility information tailored specifically to each individual passenger's itinerary. Energy efficiency gains across the electric network will drastically reduce the overall environmental footprint of suburban travel. Smart power grid management will allow energy generated by braking trains on one platform to be fed instantly back into the overhead catenary or conductor rails to power an accelerating train nearby. Ultimately, the story of the Southwestern Network is an ongoing narrative of human connection. Through every political shift, technological leap, and operational challenge, the fundamental mission of the railway remains unchanged, uniting communities, supporting local economies, and keeping the nation moving reliably forward into the future. The launch of Great British Railways. This video provides an overview of the launch of Great British Railways and the renationalization of Southwestern Railway.